Hey everybody, welcome back to an all-new X's for Show, X's for Podcast super special where we're talking about our first reactions to Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. We just saw it. We're so excited. I am Nico, and you can check me out at Nico Action.
I am Jonah. You can find me places at Peak Jonah.
I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental.
And that makes me your producer, Kevo. You can find me at Kevo Really. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment so that we know what you want us to cover in the future. But yeah, we're super stoked to be covering the only Marvel movie that we're getting this year.
Right? And so I do want to say we're going to start spoiler-free, and then we're going to move into spoilers after some time. But we're going to start spoiler-free. I do want to say, though, that there are spoilers. Like, there are secrets. There are things left to know. There are things left to figure out.
Yes.
In some ways, you do already know the plot of the movie, but in other ways, I don't know that the movie has a whole lot of plot to worry about.
Yeah.
It's plot light, but it was a lot of fun. I just want to start with, I'm giving this an A-, maybe somewhere in that range. It's hard to give it an A. I kept saying, like, in the car, it's not Anna Karenina. So, like, it's not the color purple. Deadpool is not suddenly Sealy. So, like, it's not like a powerful, gripping, emotional piece. But A-, I feel really good about it. But, you know, I don't know. What did you guys think?
For me, it's probably more in the B plus territory. I thought it was really good. I felt it was really fun. And that kind of fun and irreverence and willingness to just have a really distinct voice has been missing from MCU Disney attached properties. You know, there are some really, really violent moments that are so over the top. And I almost didn't necessarily enjoy them because I'm not like a huge violence guy, but the fight choreography was glorious. But I almost didn't enjoy them except for it was a constant, like, okay, this isn't even Captain America, the Winter Soldier, or like the most violent of the MCU movies. This is a whole other level that's also still attached to them. So I really appreciated that. I think ultimately there was some substance missing, especially in terms of how it does relate to the MCU. That for me, I thought was kind of a big component of what we might get out of it, and I was sort of lost without that.
Interesting. I actually thought not doing that made the movie so much lighter. I thought it was so fast. I thought, like, I couldn't believe it was 2 hours and 7 minutes. Jonah, like,
That's really true.
how were you on it? Because, like, this was your first Deadpool in theaters?
Yeah, no. When the first one came out while I was in college, I went with my friends and we had a real good, fun time. As a quick little tangent, a friend, the main villain of the first one is Ajax, and my friend at the time had a D&D character named Ajax, and we all just turned to them like,
Go clean my floors.
It was a good time. The actual movie, I probably do give around an A-, somewhere in between there, but my heart gives it an S for what it's trying to do. I don't think this movie's going to be really winning any Oscars or awards, but I do think this movie was a breath of fresh air in terms of just kind of what the Marvel Cinematic Universe needed. It just kind of needed to take a break. I think pumping out quantity over quality was hurting it really in the long run. And as fun as it is to be like, oh, you know, Jumpy Jorp, my favorite character is to be in this, it is not really worth it when the movie surrounding them isn't that good. But this movie was spectacular. I think for what the movie is trying to do, which was a 2-hour bloody fest of cursing and just joy and kind of a love letter to Deadpool, the character himself, I think really succeeded in that front. I don't think, like I said, this movie isn't going to be changing lives. No one's going to be writing a critical review theory of this movie, but I do think it was really fun, really enjoyable, and endlessly quotable.
Kevo, you sat so far from me in the theater, but so close. How did you feel about what was very clearly just my personality up on the screen?
You know, I am the biggest defender of how much content Marvel put out all at once, because a lot of that was because of Pando, things being held over. A lot of things came out very quickly because they had been held for so long. And I always try to point to that. But the end result of a bowel obstruction is still messy, and it was still messy, and there were still problems. And I appreciated Jonah's phraseology of it felt like a breath of fresh air, because it's not that I haven't been enjoying a lot of everything coming out, but there was a certain lightness and a certain freedom in this that I feel like we haven't gotten to experience in a while. I think because so much that's been coming out has still been the result of dust settling. And I think this feels a little bit more like things are getting, like a lot of industries feel like they're getting more back into the groove of how to produce things. And so you can feel that, I think.
And I think one of the things that I felt right away was there clearly had to, and I know they've said that basically it's what it was, but like there was clearly a list of like, this is what we want to do. These are the moments we want to have together. These are the characters we want to see appear. And we're going to stay spoiler free for now. But the characters that you've already seen in the trailers, they all do appear. One of the things that I found very interesting was I went into this kind of unsure of how I would feel about the central villains being two of my favorite things in the entire world, the TVA and Cassandra Nova, either one of those being the central villain from the trailers. Like I'm a bit of a Loki stan. And so I have my boy right here on my desk. I feel like I got what I paid for with these involvements, without giving.
Yep, you froze for me.
Even if this wasn't how I might have written either of those stories, for better or for worse, the villains actually did their part here. I feel like the second Deadpool, there's no clear villain. I feel like the first Deadpool, the villain's a joke. But this, I felt like between the two stories that the trailer plays out for you, you can kind of stick together a movie that really has at least the beats of a film.
And I think it lived up to something very X-Men, which is villains who aren't villains. They're not, I'm just here to rob banks or, get the missile codes.
Or so take Liefeld's feet.
There's a degree to which no matter how much villainy ends up happening, there are some really emotional beats to the villains, and quirks and stuff that layers them so that they aren't just, villainous for the sake of giving the main character something to fight. There is some interest and some depth there. I'm dancing around a lot of stuff that I won't get into until we talk spoilers, but I felt like they did a really good job of adding layers and stakes to the villainy such that it wasn't just like, well, they have to fight someone.
So yeah. I'm gonna open up the floor a little bit here. So Hot Older Boyfriend came with us, and he sat next to me. Just he knew I'm his Deadpool, so like it was bound to happen. And he had such a good time.
Would you be Greek pool?
Oh, I love that. I genuinely, my name is Stavros Wilson. And so it actually just could be Nico Wilson. Jesus. Nikos, hello. So he was like, I really thought this Cassandra Nova character was interesting. Is she ever a good guy? Is Cassandra Nova, I thought about a character whose origin is so steeped in violence. She is introduced with the genocide of 16 million characters in comics. And when you think about Marvel as a cinematic universe, bringing in the X-Men, bringing in mutants, creating a Deadpool Marvel movie, of course, a woman who committed 16 million murders in her first ever appearance, she belongs in this movie. I really had some trepidation, but I don't know. I'm really happy with Cassie Nova here. I'm happy with her cute little Patrick Stewart bald head. I'm happy.
Full Sinead O'Connor out here looking absolutely gorgeous.
Nothing compares to this coat.
One of my only really critiques is I wanted more of her performance. I do think that maybe she was seen like more than I wanted. I think I want to phrase it that way because I don't think she's not enough of the movie. But I really loved the way she characterized her movements, the things that she did to make the Sandy Nova her own character that I really wanted more of it. I was really when the trailers first came out and we're like, oh, the villain's gonna be Cassandra Nova, which is wild that that's who the character they chose, and we're like, oh, okay. And I had, similar to you talking about trepidations of, all right, how are they gonna handle this?
This is white RuPaul out of drag.
Deadpool sashay away, and I thought it was incredible. The right level of powerful, the right level of Joan Crawford, don't fuck with me, fellas. Yeah, I my only note is I wanted more.
Kevo, what is your Cassandra Nova? I know you are not a big fan. You're not a big fan of this sort of villain character. As a rule, we don't let people be this powerful and also potentially unlikable unless they're Taylor Swift. So, with Cassandra Nova, I know this is a character I've built up over the years. How did you feel about seeing this iteration of this character?
It wasn't what I was expecting in any way, shape, or form, certainly. I was expecting... I'm not sure. Now, is that going to be too spoiler if I answer too fully? It wasn't what I was expecting, but I think that is something that happens with a lot of these character adaptations. And I think it's why I was and am so excited to see new characters constantly emerging, because then we can hopefully start seeing continued iterations. This is a character I would love to see more from. There are characters that we did get to see more from because of this. There are characters that I would love to see more from this, and there's characters that I hope this opens up the door to seeing in upcoming projects. That's definitely one of the most interesting parts about this film, is now we are going to have to sit in wondering how it affects the rest of the Marvel future. The next movie that we have coming out, one of the trailers that we got was Captain America Brave New World. And that's not for so long now.
I have so many weird feelings about that movie. I both can't wait and also can't care, and it leaves me in a weird position. But I want to bring up a previous Marvel movie. Still no spoilers. Still no spoilers. For those of you watching that are not hoping for spoilers yet, we're still not going into spoilers. But again, I started this broadcast with, there are so many spoilers in this movie. There are so many things not properly spoiled yet by the trailers. And I wonder if in the news, because I know that I saw, a familiar villain is returning in the news 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? So I want to know, do you think this is going to get the Spider-Man-esque recut trailer the way they did when they decided to reveal that Obi and Andrew were in the movie for Spider-Man Fuck Off, It's All of Them?
I thought you were wondering, is there a rogue cut out there with more people? But no, I forgot about that when they changed the commercials, promotion, and trailers after a period of time. I wonder.
Because I think the thing that you kind of have to go into this movie, and TK, it's weird because you are both the most cynical and beautiful, wide-eyed, hopeful baby boy I know. That you thought in some ways that this movie was going to answer any questions about the Marvel Universe. I think this movie was made when they didn't know what the fuck the Marvel Universe was going to be tomorrow. So I think they made this movie trepidatiously. And I think that there aren't a lot of answers. I don't mean it as a spoiler, but there aren't a lot of answers that we would look for from like an end game maybe. Is actually, to sort of this movie's credit, one of the things that I thought was really exciting is not only are there still a lot of spoilers, but again, the story is pretty light. And I just really wonder, for me, the story being so light is a positive. For me, the story being so light is rewatchability. It's why I love Weekend at Bernie's too. I don't regret saying that on air. By the way, in the background, you guys can hear my theme from Ashes, the Celine Dion jam from Deadpool 2. I bring it up because I thought Deadpool 3 was better than Deadpool 2 on every measurable metric, including
Yes.
Like a Prayer as a centerpiece for the film, again from the trailers, not a spoiler. I don't know. I just really felt like there was so much heart in this movie, and it's moving in the right direction.
Yes.
And I think part of it had to do with a queer freedom. This is the gayest Marvel movie, from the way Wade sachets to the music choices to a lot of the color and directorial choices. And TK, I see you going, but okay, then name the gayer one. I'll wait. So
yeah, no, I mean, Eternals, ones that have actual gay people in them.
I'm gonna say I think that I thought this was closer to an episode of Drag Race than Eternals was. Eternals was a trip through a very slow museum, which is very beautiful, but having gay things in you does not make you gay, and that's something I ding things for constantly. This was queer.
The idyllic suburban family, prim, I have a husband and children, gay representation was also wonderful. And I even hear this could have been gayer. And I saw that criticism a little bit before even seeing the film. I read a review that specifically said it was non-spoilery, and it was non-spoilery. But it was very critical of the film in a lot of ways, and that was one of the ways it was. But I really agree with Nico. It is still queerer than most things. I think as a queer person, I always think you can be more. But yeah, I don't know what action film like this I would say I've seen that is this level of that.
I just felt like there was a lot of the joke is that the Thing is gay or that Wade is lusty for men. In a way that, like, it's funny once, it's like of the character twice, and then by the third time I'm just kind of over it a little bit.
Oh, that's why you don't return my calls anymore.
I did, I loved Like a Prayer. I maybe didn't love the specific first context in which it's really used. I really like the second one. But I don't know, like, it's not, I did not feel a lot of queerness in it. I didn't feel unwelcome at all. I didn't feel hostile or unfriendly. And maybe that's a thing. If I really think about it, like, a lot of the other MCU movies are so what they are and are so kind of in their box that they don't necessarily
straight up mad heady.
Yeah, they don't feel super
inviting.
Yeah, like they don't. It doesn't. A lot of Marvel movies do not feel like places that queer people do inhabit. I did not think there was a lot of like queer vibes to this, but I do feel like this is a place where, like, if somebody said, hey, for whatever reason, and maybe I wish they would have said this, like, we need to have like a really great queer character in this, that character could have slotted into like any scene, any moment, and it wouldn't have been, if you had a super gay guy in the middle of the like fight scene of Captain America Winter Soldier in the elevator, or is it Civil War? It would have just been like, what are we talking about here?
That doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
Which one it is, it doesn't matter. It's the same Russo movie.
Exactly. But this, and that it really speaks to just like overall the sense of freedom throughout this film, and the sense of like not being in a typical Marvel box. But I guess my thing is, the thing that I was kind of talking about earlier is like, I didn't leave with the sense that this had opened up the doors for other Marvel movies to do that.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. Let's ask an actual gay person what they think. Jonah,
the only one here.
The only one. We're all huge homosexuals, but Jonah,
practicing homosexual.
As somebody who grew up in a world where there was more than just subtext, did you feel this movie was gay enough? Or were you sort of like, move over, faggots, old men are done, Heartstopper now, lemon party?
No, I'm Heartstopper's too young for me. So part of it is I know that Wade's queerness is often a little wishy-washy, even in the comics. Sometimes they talk about him being pansexual, but
It's a well-educated wish.
It's a well-educated wish,
Yeah.
a hopeful wish, if you will, of what I want. And sometimes I just want Wade to, kiss a boy, but we don't always get that. And sometimes I do think the comic writers don't always know how to handle it because they're a little bit afraid. I do think one of the best people to be able to handle it right in more recent times is Alyssa Wong's Deadpool, that really kind of took a little bit more of a queer lens to what Wade looks like in kind of a queer relationship. Could this have been gayer? Yes. I actually think this was how queer can we make this? Like it was straight through the queer lens, if that makes sense. We're through the looking glass, like we're all gay and it's through the looking glass, but it's straight. And how do you make that work? And for me and my money, I do think it makes it work. I do think we should be past the time of subtext, but I also understand we're still not at that point with the way that actors are blacklisted, with the way that storytelling is often hidden and not put into the algorithm as much and shadow banned. I don't really blame them.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Wait, before you leave, you were at the movie with us. Will you shout if you liked it or not? You don't even have to be on camera. Just shout if you liked the movie or not.
I liked it.
He liked it, you guys. You heard it right here. I said he went to the movie. You guys, you'll never see him. He is imaginary. But he went to the movie and he said he liked it.
If you picture Wolverine played by Pedro Pascal, that's hot older boyfriend.
Yes. Rich is Wolverine played by Pedro Pascal. That is on the money.
But
yeah,
one of the things I wanted to quickly circle back to is that you said this is a little bit plot light, and I think that is the direction superhero and comic book movies need to go in. These aren't Oscar.
Yeah.
This isn't. We don't need to get cerebral. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Reinvent the wheel? You don't got to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to. People just want to see their favorite heroes and villains on screen with cool special effects and fight scenes. It's really not that difficult, and I really hope if this movie is as successful as they are predicting it to be, I hope that it opens the door in the sense of just giving the writers and teams and everybody who wants to make superhero and comic movies that like you don't need to think too hard about it. You don't need to go in this.
Sometimes it can just be make action figures smash, and I wouldn't say that it's literally just that, but it's fun, and let it be fun.
Okay, now it's about to get fun. This is your chance. If you don't want to hear things, bazounce. If you don't want to know spoilers, we're going full spoiler, okay? So if you don't want to know, now is your chance to close out of your device. I'm going to pad this for a minute because there is something that everybody on this entire panel knows. I'm sure there are bigger ones that matter more. I'm sure it's likely, but I am ready to keep, like, and I mean this in the best possible way. I see people dropping off because there are people not ready for these spoilers. So again,
I love how far we made it, though. We made it a really long time.
Yeah,
longer than I thought we would. Good for us.
so
Jonah dropped off.
Jonah's like, I gotta get out of this. I can't.
I don't want to know spoilers.
So
give me 1 second. I just want to retweet the link and just tell people we're doing spoilers, and then that will be the last.
Yeah.
Okay,
and hey,
then,
give more time, sure.
Then I'm also gonna not spoil things. I'm gonna say a few things that I didn't get, that we're not gonna be there, that nobody thought we were getting. So before we transition to spoilers, my far off dreams, like TK thought this was going to have relevance and tie back into something, far off dreams. But my far off dreams included perhaps a secret drop in from like some random X team that like existed. I was like, hoping we were going to get like a forgotten moment from X2 or maybe like a forgotten moment from Endgame, something that they'd never touted, that they'd never said was coming. I was just hoping that was one of the things in the canon, but we did not get that. I do already see one of my favorite moments spoiling up in the comments, and I legitimately, one of the moments I said in the car, my friend, literally, I said, what a great way to make fun of those problems.
All right. I think we are good to talk spoilers.
Oh my God, she was there for me. She was there for me.
We got her.
She was there for me.
We got her.
I went to sleep last night in a world where I wasn't sure that Jennifer Garner was going to be Elektra ever again.
I literally, this afternoon, because we were watching the backdoor pilot to Private Practice, I explained to Jonah the entire scene of Francie doesn't like ice cream, doesn't like coffee ice cream. So, like, I went on a whole Jennifer Garner, it's been 2 years. She is everything.
She's so phenomenal. Flawless from beginning to end. Whole movie was worth, I swear to God, I paid $80 for 4 tickets, and they were worth every penny of $80 for, it was like 81.80 something. Worth every penny just to see her beautiful motherfucking face in this movie holding those size.
And you know, we got a lot of character cameos from the Fox universe that were very sweet and very cute, but guys, cut away. I'm gonna tell you, Sabretooth is dead in 10 seconds. We get Tyler Maines, he's there, and then immediately he is dead, and that's fine. It's not like I wasn't like, no, I needed more of him. It was a great cameo. It was a lot of fun.
I'm just really glad for Mick Fleetwood getting the work.
But it was not, you know, it wasn't meant to be a huge thing. Ray Park has some fantastic moments. There was a bunch of great stuff, but Jennifer Garner especially of the 3 big cameos that she's really a part of, she had like a little subplot, she had a real character and some real motivation, and was really kind of important to the heart of the film. And
TK, we finally got, dude, all I could think about was you, because I could not stop seeing her as Wild Thing's mom. I couldn't stop seeing her as that version of Elektra.
Yeah.
I felt like I remember being a young man and thinking, this is my favorite character of all time in any fiction ever. This is my favorite fictional character ever. And here is an actress I love playing her in some movies that are bad. And now here is an actress I love playing her in a movie that is just really good.
Yep. Yeah, it was really cool. It was great that she got to be such a rep for this previous era of superhero films. And there's the great, really funny joke about why Matt wasn't there.
Well, okay, that joke is, I just wanted to explain it to Rich. There's this joke where Elektra kind of shrugs off that Daredevil is dead. And it's a really great reference because Jennifer Garner was married to her Daredevil, so it is no big loss for her.
Yeah.
I'd like to put my hat in the ring for the dark horse of the competition. The winner for me of this week's Maxi Challenge, which was Channing Tatum's Gambit, was the funniest thing in the entire world.
It was very funny. It was also really funny because we just talked about it on the show when we were ranking the X-Men movies, because it was not Channing Tatum in Wolverine. It was Taylor Kitsch. And
from Friday Night Lights with Mrs. Coach.
And they had always discussed how they were going to do a Channing Tatum Gambit movie. And for years it was like it was constantly about to happen. And so like just the fact that we finally got to see him, the fact that they played it almost entirely for laughs, and he was really good natured and really into it. But then they gave him an incredible action sequence.
Yes.
And
You are
absolute-
the fourth person who has seen this movie who that is one of the things they've said to me first.
Yeah, I mean, like, it really is notably very good and very, like, hey, I think it's kind of like we could not have had it all, because I don't think they could have pulled that sequence off until the last 4 years. I think if they had tried to make this movie in even like 2008, 2012, let's say, like, which was well after they had said they were going to do it.
Without
I think
Cantina Creative, they could not have done this.
yeah, I just absolutely don't think it would have looked as good. But
he's the man.
Honestly, I want to cast him in a remake of Miss Congeniality, Mr. Congeniality. What a beautiful, dumb... Like, he is the literal himbo of all time. And, like, Gambit is the literal himbo of all time. When he came out in that costume, I literally turned to Rich and said, but I don't have to take it seriously, right? And then he starts moving like a cage on Mushmouth, like a cage on Mushmouth. And, like, it's just so good right away. Kevo, who was it for you? Was it Laura? Was it Remy? Was it Blade? Was it the correct answer, Elektra?
Blade was a really fun surprise. In the comics, there is a reference to the line that you loved about Blade saying there's only one Blade, and Deadpool jimming the camera, because god damn, that movie is still not out yet. I don't trust where it is on the schedule by any means necessary as of recording today, and so maybe we'll get news this weekend, who knows. My biggest delight was that not only was there an appearance, it was not just a cameo. I saw a few things in preparation of this episode, and so I didn't know what would be what and what would be sustained. And so when he fell from the sky, I was like, oh, that's it. Okay, that's fine. It was cute.
And that would have been so much. They gave us so much before that.
Been great. And then it still extends beyond that. God damn, Chris Evans is always a team player. Is he not? But that, much like the Matthew McConaughey commercial at the beginning of our movie, when I thought to myself, Cowboy Deadpool, I wondered if that is part of why we got Red 1 as a trailer, which looks interesting. But
Wild.
Can I just, on that subject, on the subject of the Human Torch scenes, was the giant Tren King in the striped shirt meant to be Strong Guy?
I did not know who that was.
I think it's meant to be Guido. I think it's meant to be Strong Guy.
Well,
it's a silly striped shirt, and he's like built like contributor Kyle.
But I feel like it was somebody from, like, I feel like it's a cameo I just don't remember. It's a character I don't remember from the movies. I was wondering. No, I just have no idea. We'll find out at some point. Is it?
I was also going to ask, who is the chick with the lasso?
Yeah.
She's from Last Stand.
I think she's meant to be a take on Callisto or something. I don't know. Everybody's weird.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Yes. It
the
was
woman who plays Callisto is there, Arclight, and then they had who they called Kid Omega in Last Stand, but it's really Quill. And then it's such a brief appearance, but I thought maybe the character might have transitioned, or the actor might have transitioned.
Well, and then there's a Deathstrike that can't be
yes, that
Kelly.
was no, that was her.
That's Kelly who?
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Yeah, insane.
I am looking into the camera to just share this with you, because I think if I look into your eyes deeply enough, I too will unage. I think she's younger in this than she is in X2.
Yeah.
Oh, blessed life.
I did think the jokes like, this movie's Juggernaut. That joke was great. I loved getting Yukio. I loved getting Colossus. I'm such a sucker for this iteration. This post-Astonishing Torn iteration of Negasonic Teenage Warhead, where she is basically the perk of being a wallflower or something. I just think she is like literally one of the best queer representations in the history of superhero cinema. I love her. I just really think the actress destroys the role in the best way. I don't know, down to stuff like Oh, thank God. There's going to be a Magneto here, right? You guys have a Magneto, right? Oh, fuck! Like,
Now Disney gets cheap.
now! And then stuff like, what was it? Like a stage magician or something, and then it's the sling ring. Like, everything about, because you don't know that was Doctor Strange. That could have been an alternate universe where the Doctor Strange in that world really was just like a Vegas show magician. Like,
It could have been Wong.
yes, or it could have been someone who's friends with Wong, but not how you think.
Speaking
Please.
of surprise connections, especially to Disney Plus TV, one that I almost forgot.
Yeah,
Literally
B15.
one of our favorite characters in this era, in this saga, B15, and wonderfully played. There is always danger of a character like this jumping mediums, jumping writers. Amazing representation of the TVA as it stands currently. I feel like, a lot of people keep being like, no one's talking about this giant celestial sticking out of the Indian Ocean. I don't care. And the Marvel Universe wouldn't care. They would move on with their lives. I don't know why you're asking these questions. So I'm worried already about people pointing out holes in this TVA story. But no, I think it makes a ton of sense. I love it. I love that there's still little fires going on. Amazing.
Jonah, what you got?
I love the use of the TVA. I thought Paradox was fine. Excellent delivery. The character is fine. Motives make sense. It's all there.
More comedy than not, but yeah.
I love that we actually get to see what happens when people get hit with those sticks. I guess a lot of people just assumed you just disintegrated and you fade into nothing.
Have you not done Loki season 2 yet?
No, I have.
Oh, yeah.
We also see at the end of season 1.
Oh, is it the end of season 1 too? They go to the void.
It doesn't look like the void, but maybe I'm.
I do.
It is a very vastly different landscape of void.
I do actually want to say it looks more like the wasteland from Secret Wars, which in that I really agree with you. There is such a desire to pull from the best of the best of the best of the best here, where like all of the stuff is all over the place. There's no one work I would say go read. This is clearly kind of meant to be Deadpool Secret Wars kind of crossed with other stuff. One of the things that this provides me though is I am usually kind of like, fuck you for your torture porn, fuck you for your pain. Wolverine's pain here is handled so carefully. He doesn't do something. He doesn't do something. And that decision is really excellent. It's almost as excellent as the comment decision mentioned to only show Hulk in the reflection of adamantium claws. What a Peter David Incredible Hulk cover kind of thing to do. Hey, what's up, Dale Kwan? I loved this way they avoided making Wolverine have like mercilessly killed the X-Men in a fit of rage. Yes, there's element tones that go there, but it isn't he was tricked by Mesmero. It isn't he got drunked and stabbed people. That was purposely trying to make him sound drunk, and I see that it just sounded dumb. But this avoided a lot of the grimdark that I was really concerned would overtake the film. I just felt like this iteration of Wolverine, this dummy, he was great, and that his Laura is as realized as Logan is in Logan compared to Laura, which this Wolverine represented the lack of self that Laura represented. This balance on daughter became the person that took care of her elderly father, even though this one wasn't elderly. Instead, they used that to grow Laura. I just think Daphne Keane deserves. She's not going to get it, but I really think she kind of deserves an Oscar nomination for this movie. I really think she stumbled into something that is a maturity that comes from actually growing up.
And I will say another small ding is I needed more Laura.
Oh, by 100%.
Yeah. I love Laura. Laura's my favorite Wolverine. I love Logan, but Laura's my, the actual Wolverine is my favorite Wolverine. So I was just only a little bit surprised that what they decided to air and give to us on the screen wasn't a ton. I imagine maybe there was more that potentially could have been cut. There could have been stuff that was just they felt like maybe it just didn't add anything to more that they needed to the film, which is fine. It obviously it's not her film, and that's not. I'm not trying to say make it the Laura Wolverine show, but I was surprised by how she, as really full as she is, she kind of is just more of as the vehicle for Logan's arc throughout this movie.
I love that description and that perspective. Thank you for making me remember that women need to be more than just parts of movies that move the plot along. They really need to be a part of the movie that is the movie.
I wonder if there was a hesitation, though, because especially since Laura's character in Logan, she was a child, which is vastly different than what she's representing now. She barely spoke, so she didn't really have a ton of developed dialogue and characterization. There's a lot of, fear of doing what the opening scene of this movie is. That's what the joke was, is that they are literally desecrating Wolverine's skeleton. And it is a joke, and it is a metaphor for the idea of anything they do going forward could be seen as shitting on so many things that have been done already. And it is a delicateness that I think we need to not be concerned about. We spoke recently on the ranking the 20th Century Foxverse episode that we did last Friday about, concern about Hugh Jackman being said to be the only person who can play Wolverine. Then we're never going to get another Wolverine. The jokes about they're going to make you do this until you're 90 are funny, but we don't really want them to have to do that to poor Hugh Jackman if he doesn't want to. And we want to see other iterations, and we want to see new stories without it having to be, a concern about desecrating. So I to that end, I do agree. I wish we'd seen more from her, but I can see where the hesitance came from.
Well, and they made so many comments about desecrating Wolverine's corpse. I have not heard that many people worried about something involved in a sacrifice and crucifixion since the Shroud of Turin. This was like some straight up, what if somebody used the Shroud of Turin as a cum rag? And we would carbon date it. But part of what this movie did also that moved the barometer in a really big way was, thank you, Keva, what a great pivot. Lady Deadpool being this avatar of the Deadpool core, reminding us that there are cores of characters. Using Deadpool to exploit this trap early on in comparison to somebody like Thor. What would you do with an entire sea of Thors? What would you do with all of those hammers? What a beautiful visual. What an amazing idea. But can you pay that scene off? But could you pay that scene off? I don't think you could, not without the entirety of the Falcon lineup. And I think, part of what winds up happening is when you see the Deadpool core treated like cannon fodder, the value of realizing that characters like that, outside of something like Into the Spider-Verse, are so difficult to elevate. Using celebrities and making them throwaways was such a powerful way to remind us that even when somebody like our very own Jake Peralta, Andy Samberg, voices a character like Ben Reilly for 2 seconds and Into the Spider-Verse, it's a cameo. It's a fleeting moment. I love that they released Thor was in this movie for a 1 second silent shot that they used twice so they could avoid the Chris Evans spoiler.
From the Dark World. It was stock footage from the Dark World. Yep.
Yeah. And when you use somebody like Lady Deadpool, who people are pretty excited about, you make her kind of a throwaway, but
also played by the lovely Ryan Reynolds' wife, Blake Lively,
who got a mention as the thing that causes a 207th bone as Gossip Girl in Deadpool.
She was also name dropped. It was like, I'm gonna tell
Blake about this. I loved that. Yeah. You use a character like Lady Deadpool, who frankly does have a lot of appearances. She's very important to a lot of people. But by making her sacrificial, you're blocking somebody from using an alternate iteration of another character foolishly. And I think once you set the stage so high for a character like this drop in this movie, which, you know, they're expecting it to clear 360 this week, I think it's going to be historic. I think this is going to be the biggest opening for an R-rated movie ever. And I think part of it has to do with the memeability. Very few people are Ryan Reynolds and understand how to own TikTok. Having somebody like Ryan Reynolds come in who understands a quick viral meme and make an entire movie of it is a whole lot smarter than asking the cast of SNL to come up with one movie based on 18 brilliant writers. It's not the same thing. Oh no, I broke the show.
You've sent us into silence.
And nodding in agreement.
Is he
And now you froze.
Oh no, am I better now?
Oh, he's back. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
We're back.
Part of
I
what
thought it was
this
a joke.
did compel me to do is it compels me to
Preschool.
think about the nature of how these folks die and don't die. The fact that we saw Wolverine literally receive 17 million bullets the last time that Hugh Jackman received that many loads. And so we also saw, you know, Ryan Reynolds get ripped to shreds the last time Ryan Reynolds was that ripped. So I find myself thinking about the nature of these characters' immortality and how that was used as a plot. The overall plot of this film needs their immortality to be something so cement. This actually became Chekhov's overused trope by making their unkillability a focal point of not just the action, but the storytelling modus. You made it as an acceptable way to end the film, a great way to have kind of played out that this should be the way the film ends.
Oops, all tropes.
Interesting.
I love that you're saying that because I think what they did of turning this void into the place where these alternate movies, a lot of these Foxverse movies ended up, and these characters end up dead or fighting for survivability or working, you know, in indented servitude to Cassandra Nova. I think it's kind of, it was such a, in my mind, like a genius, fascinating move to do, to not only bring these people back, but to essentially just give closure to the role of these movies. Like, they exist, they're real, that there might not be they're part of this history, maybe not part of this world, part of your world. I really thought it was such a fascinating thing to do, that once I saw them doing that, I was like, gay gasp, this is amazing. I only wanted more cameos. I wanted more.
Oh no, we are greedy little gay boys. We I did wonder if we were going to get more. We see Laura again at the end, but we don't see Elektra or Blade
I assume that
or Gambit.
that they maybe just go back to their own universes.
I'd love that. I
Yeah.
kind of want to think that they're living in their own cool apartment and they're going to have a cool animated show after this, but probably not. TK, you have been uncomfortably quiet for far too long, like Pyro through a good 4/5 of this movie. Good for him, from the hot tub to the big screen. So
That
Pyro.
was not the hot
This
tub
one's
pyro.
fine.
I'm sorry. So you're telling me this Pyro can't even heat up a pool of water? I understand now. So how did you feel about the sort of payoff of seeing so many of these characters get given this opportunity to end their story, as they kept so beautifully having Blade and Elektra say?
I mean, I thought that was a cute conceit and like a good way to like explain this in any and give it like some kind of heart. Because like they could, I mean, like that's not what happens for any of Cassandra's hench people. They're just there. And I love that too. So like I don't actually feel like, and you know, he's kind of in that camp as well of Johnny's just kind of there.
Did they tell him to be the most Boston he could possibly
That's
be?
exactly what I said to Jake too. I was like, that's just very take on Johnny Storm.
That's
I
just his
imagine
actual voice.
I imagine that's how they talked him back. Just hang out.
But you know that there was a message about the core for Electra, Blade, Gambit, and Laura, and that they like actually yes, that they were actually trying to do something was I thought really sweet and cool.
I agree. I feel like, Kevo, you made a point in the car about the avoidance of Spider-Man.
Yes.
It's tricky. That's the one they don't have.
The sequence toward the beginning, and I just want to shout it out because it is so masterful when he is in Happy Hogan's office, and it is the Iron Man 2 child Peter Parker Iron Man mask covering Tom Holland in the Tony Stark Peter Parker photo. The way that they tried to evoke Peter there without getting billed by Sony is both funny as a meta joke and pretty artful when you're watching it. But apart from that, there's so many things where they just freely mention the X-Men and don't have to worry about showing too much or too little. He mentions all of their names, but we don't need to see their faces. They mention the Avengers, and watching Logan freely mention, fuck the Avengers. It felt like there were so many things. I think back on the Netflix Marvel verse when they had to say things like the green guy or a guy with a hammer, because like they said in this, they were embarrassed to be superhero movies. And that's why Logan says, it's like he was embarrassed to be a superhero by putting that on. And so, a lot of what we got to see here, it feels like we've gotten to a place for this franchise. And that's sort of what I was touching on earlier with, where we are getting back to both post-COVID and with all of these contracts normalizing, a place where they can just have her pull out a sling ring and it's not a big deal. They can just mention these things and we aren't super concerning ourselves about either contractually or people complaining that you haven't watched this, that, or the other thing. The temple that they were sitting in was the Scarlet Witch Temple from Multiverse of Madness. That was cool. So that was, stuff like that was really awesome.
And, when you're talking about the way that they worked so hard to come up with these little touches, I don't know if everybody caught it, but there was a carpet steamer ad on the side of a bus that featured Stan Lee's face.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're all aware of it. Stanley Steamer is the name of a steamer company in the tri-state area. And that's what Stan Lee's face was on. And
Makes your carpets cleaner.
Yeah, it's a staple. And it was just so sweet to see. There were so many brilliant touches, like seeing the Thor helmet in the sand at one point. The 20th Century Fox logo, they built something very big. How are they going to hide that? But they hid Chris Evans. They hid Wesley Snipes. They hid Jennifer Garner.
Well enough.
Yeah. I'm gonna say kind of fuck the post-credit scene. It's funny. It's worth staying for, but it's just sort of like more Chris Evans being funny, which is cute, and I like it. But
it's not worth it if you have to pee.
It's not worth it if you have to pee. It's not worth it if you have to run home and do a show.
Yeah.
But I was genuinely emotional over the credits roll of Fox footage, seeing all of those amazing behind the scenes pieces of actors.
I love that. That was really...
Was that image right on the screen?
I got emotional. Maybe it's just because we're millennials, but I got emotional. Fuck you, Green Day. Love you, Green Day.
Best time of our lives. One of my most played songs.
Good riddance. I also loved seeing the credits for that go to Mike Dirnt, Trey Cool, and Billy Joel Armstrong. Billy Joel Armstrong. One of the things that I think is so funny is Trey Cool has to live with having changed his name to that for the rest of his life. So,
it's like a drag name.
Oh, if only. So I 21st century meltdown. So I am really excited to do a full regular coverage on this at some point in the course of our lives. We have certainly not said everything we need to say, but that's because this movie isn't a clear... It's not a clear slam dunk. I think it was made too much with a specific voice in mind, and that can go either way. We've seen that be really successful, but we've also seen it kind of blow up in Marvel's face. So I'm hoping this is a little bit more Thor Ragnarok and a little bit less Thor Love and Thunder. But the thing that this movie will forever be is the best time I've had at a Marvel movie since Shang-Chi. Which was the best time I've had a Marvel movie since Endgame, which the last time I had as much fun as Endgame. So this, I don't know that I would say this is in my top 5, but it's in the top 5 I can remember having as much fun. It didn't bring me to tears the way Endgame did, but I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop smiling. I couldn't stop having a really good time. So thank you to Ryan Reynolds for remembering why comics are fun. I stick by my A-. I had a great fucking time. I'll probably see it again. I just one time up there, the day or two that Hugh Jackman did not eat, that he upped his testosterone supplements, that he sunbaked in a hot box and withered himself away for those couple of scenes to show his torso. Sir, not since you were in fact trapped between the moon and New York City have you seemed that good, sir.
Listen, all I'm saying is Greatest Showman could never. He looked great this movie. His arms looked incredible. He was tan.
Ooh, Zac Efron as a variant Wolverine would be especially...
Oh, Henry Cavill!
Oh, we got Henry Cavill.
Especially, yes. Zac Efron, though, would be especially funny. Jonah, you go first.
Overall, I think I stand by as a movie A-, but for what they were going for, S+. And I really hope, obviously, I hope everything does well, but I hope the big takeaway for Marvel and other studios and other companies that want to make movies like this is that you can just do action and it'll be fun and enjoyable. That's all. The formula is there. People have been saying you don't need to get cerebral about it. You don't need to get dark and gritty. You don't need to reinvent things. Stick to the action, make it fun, have it make sense, and just have a good time. I feel like everybody in this movie was having a great time.
From your lips to Romulus's ears, Alien Romulus, you better meet this bar. Favorite movie franchise of all time, meet this fucking bar. Kevo, you were kind enough to let JoJo go first. You said youth before producing. And so I would love to know what the producer's take on this is. You are a man who concerns yourself with images, and I was blown away by the quality of the color and the visual here, and I would love to get somebody like your take on this film.
I think... we all say mostly in jest, we want more cameos. We're greedy babies. And we do, obviously. Multiverse of Madness was a disappointment, I think, because we had certain expectations. Because I think now looking back, Multiverse of Madness, I guess, more felt like they still needed to spend more time introducing what the multiverse even was.
Yes.
Not to this level of crazy cameos to the point of Channing Tatum appearing as a Gambit that we never got. That is a meta joke that exists outside. Like, they make references in these films to meta stuff, and they don't actually sit and explain he was almost Gambit. That exists outside. And, I think of Tom Cruise as Iron Man as one that we've heard thrown about a lot. And even back with Multiverse of Madness, that was one I was like, if we're going to get these crazy variants, and we haven't really gotten that. And now I'm realizing that was probably the problem. They still thought we needed to catch up, and we don't. And I feel like that is one of those things that's exactly what I was saying about this movie, where it made no apologies. It didn't apologize for not showing you Jean and Scott and Storm and just mentioning them by name. It didn't apologize for Logan knowing who the Avengers were. It just told the story that it told, because there's so many of these movies out over the last 30 years, not even just the MCU, but that goodbye to the Foxverse, that was concurrent with all of this, not part of it. There's so many movies that exist that you can kind of just hit the ground running. And so I think how I'm going to end up feeling about this movie will depend on what comes next. We've got another potential mind-bending story coming up next month and a half with Agatha. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. I don't think that it let down my expectations in any way. I think that I have enjoyed a lot of movies that have come out. I enjoyed the Marvels. I enjoyed Love and Thunder to a degree. But this was... yeah, it felt like there is an energy to this that I really want them to continue carrying on to the next projects. I am flustered that we are a year away from Fantastic Four, but I thought the Fantastic Car in this as something supplemental to Johnny Storm. That's another really multiversal, time-bending story that I am hoping takes its cues from what is done here and pushes the same envelope.
I really love so many of the points you're making about the idea of pushing the envelope in not verbatim the same way, but in a comparable way. Because, you saying, I liked things about Love and Thunder, or I love things about Love and Thunder. I can think about how often we fiercely defend these movies when they come out because the reviews are, this is the worst fucking movie ever, and everybody involved with it deserves to be locked up the same way we locked up everybody who made Cannibal Holocaust. Like, it is so bizarre to me the way people think that every bad move Marvel's ever made is a crime against all of cinema. And I'm just so challenged by that. TK, there are very few people whose thoughts on movies I care about. Even one itty bitty speck. Did you think you would live forever, you little speck? Speaking of Cassandra Nova, that I care about as much as yours. Where do you stand in this debate?
What debate exactly?
Well, what Kevin and I were just talking, just discussing about on the lines, where, this is about the potentiality of the future. This is about finding ways to not just make a universe work, but make individual films that are enjoyable, that express unique perspective, that take brave steps, while still aligning to a corporate sense of fiduciary responsibility and creative cohesion.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, those last two are what makes it really complicated. I worry that Marvel learns a lot of the wrong lessons, through comics and movies and TV. And when something does well, they don't think, what are the elements that set this up to succeed, and how can we create an infrastructure for other films to have that. They go, okay, let's just do more of the same. It sounds like so much of what they're talking about now is how do we get Hugh Jackman into more movies? And I don't think that's why this movie is doing so well. I think thinking creatively about how to do a third Deadpool movie and coming up with the solution of using Hugh Jackman is why this movie is doing so well. And so I think I have some real worries about that aspect of things, but I can't fault anybody involved in creating this with that problem. They gave a really great blueprint for how to take a specific character and work with them. And I give Marvel credit for letting Ryan Reynolds cook and letting him fully do his vision and embracing that and making it their own. That thing that I say about being a little bit disappointed about not really understanding how this fits into the MCU, that kind of is part of this insofar as I was hoping they would claim this movie and this character and this moment a little bit more. I did hope that by the end we would, either through a mechanic, we would fuse Deadpool's universe with this one, or, they would kill it and he would only get to save his friends. So we could pull all those characters in and he could feel good about that. But Kevin Feige's also been talking a lot about how this is the start. From here on out, there will be mutants in everything, and like this is the start of mutants. But I don't feel like I have any idea how mutants are in the MCU now.
Right.
So
No,
there's
it's
a
just
lot.
like I've mentioned it before. There was a book series called Diadem when we were kids. It was like a young adults book series about how there were like it was a multiverse, but the further out you went from the multiverse, there was less magic. It's almost like they've expanded out far enough from the sacred timeline to find the mutants, and they're just like, oh no, they were always just on the other town. The mutants, they were just further away.
Yeah, I don't really get how they're going to be in the MCU now, though. And
That's what I'm saying. Like it just feels like they just noticed them.
Yeah, I guess that was a big thing that I was just like, I thought we would get something that would indicate how the Marvel universe is going to be different now that we own all the Fox properties as well. And I just really didn't get that, and I think that was a big source of disappointment for me. But I thought that, yeah, I mean, they made the film they were supposed to make. And I do give Marvel credit for embracing that.
I do even also have concern, and I do even also have thoughts on what does all of this mean. And sorry, lost my train of thoughts because everything is just so buzzing. It's just I'm thinking about the future and mutants in the future and what people want to see and the way people are already talking about. Tobey Maguire better be in Secret Wars, and now people are already saying Hugh Jackman better come back. And what I really hope is taken away from this movie more than anything is a freedom to embrace stuff like that, but also try and write your own path. Like, a thought that occurred to me is, what if Secret Wars turns out to instead be an Avengers made up of all variants like the people we met in this movie? Something
that's
like
how you
that.
can do 2 parts.
But then you don't need Hugh Jackman for that. You do something else instead. And while I'd love to see him appear again, I think I feel like there's so much in the air that I'm nervous about. But with a project like this, I'd like to at least err on the side of hope if things can keep this energy of, creative freedom over just catering to expectations.
I love that. That's how I want to go out for this episode. I've had an unbelievable time. We've had some unforgettable viewership tonight. We just want to thank you all for coming out. If you like what you heard tonight, don't forget to check us out on every podcast. You can check out every podcast service, that is at X is for Podcast and X is for Show on YouTube. Funny enough, I had the opportunity to explain to somebody today that X is for Show is actually named for Cassandra Nova's first arc. E is for Extinction. So this was actually just kind of like a homecoming for me, storytelling wise. Felt really great. We do queer content, we do nerd content, we do movies, we do franchises, TV, reality, music, plays, musicals. We are often joined by our incredible co-hosts like the unforgettable Tori, the incredible Jake, and more. And we love having every one of them, and we love having all of you. We can't wait to have you guys again. I believe we are getting all kinds of drag brunchy on Sunday morning to talk about the unbelievable slate of current RuPaul's Drag Race content. But you can always check out comics live Wednesdays. You can check out podcast feeds Mondays and Thursdays. And I think that's all the plugs I got. I think I hit a Ryan Reynolds Disney movies worth of plugs just there. I feel like a Circuit City. There are so many outlets now. But all right, Jonah, where can everybody find you? Who was your favorite cameo? And how'd you get so cute?
I got this cute because I'm a little mini Wolverine. Bub.
Snikt.
That's all it is. It's a lot of peanut butter. My favorite cameo. As much as I love Channing Tatum, my favorite cameo probably was Jennifer Gardner as Elektra. That really was really special and really amazing. And if you want to follow me places, I am at places online at Peak Jonah. That's Peak.
Oh man, and you, sir, are peak quality. We would never do this without you. Thank you so much for coming to the movie with us tonight. You made it so much more fun just being there and bringing your fandom. And speaking of people who made it so fun tonight, Mr. Producer Extraordinaire, you didn't just go see this movie. You got this whole motherfucking episode together. I love that. I also see somebody saying they want to see Kitty Pryde be Tom Holland's new girlfriend in the MCU. I've heard things I hate worse. I can't complain.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, they've dated before, so it's fine. They dated in the Ultimate Universe. That's pretty cool. I would love that take. Mr. Producer Extraordinaire, I would love to know what your favorite cameo was, where everybody can find you, and how it is you got so good at producing.
The same way I got to Carnegie Hall, falling asleep in choir practice. That is literally, I promise, a true story. My favorite cameo, I'm going to stick with Chris Evans. That was the one I think I was most surprised by, Johnny Storm. I'm a little disappointed if they were putting Five-tastic Five in the end montage, that we got nothing from them, but maybe there was something in the background of the Wasteland that we missed. But
maybe one of those guys was meant to be Doom.
And maybe they just couldn't get them. That is also something that people need to remember, is sometimes it just doesn't work out. So I really appreciated it being honored. Speaking of honor, we are honored to be appearing at FlameCon in 3 weeks, where we will be on the show floor, and we will also, we have 2 panels. We have one Saturday and one Sunday. So definitely come check us out for that amazingness. And until then, you can find me on the socials at Kev O'Reilly. That's KEVOREALLY. Am I kicking it back to you, or should I kick it to my left?
Well, I mean, you got to ask him the questions if you're kicking it.
Well, the questions of where can everybody find you on the socials? What was your favorite cameo? And how did you get so darn cute?
I can be found at TK Elemental on all of the socials. The favorite cameo is Jennifer Garner, of course, but it's not a cameo, but Cassandra Nova, I think, probably was my favorite part. Emma Corrin, they were just so good.
Stunning work.
I want that movie now. I would even take James McAvoy back to act against them, but I'd love a new Professor X. So anyway, that was my favorite part. Cute's my mutant ability. There we go. Nico.
Yeah, I'm gonna disappoint everybody. Definitely Jennifer Garner, obviously, for a trillion reasons, but very
I'll
tight.
keep Chris Evans all to myself. That is completely fine with me.
And actually a very tight second place to Channing Tatum, cracking me up, being a lot of fun, and then a kind of like okay to Henry Cavill. But if you want to check me out at Nico Action, NICOACTION. You want to check out my music, Nico Action Music, NICOACTION MUSIC. If you want to check out the show, that's X is for show. If you want to check out the podcast, it's X is for podcast. If you want to know what you guys should do for yourselves, I'll tell you that in 1 second, but do me 3 favors first: like, comment, and subscribe on all of your socials and streaming services. But I want you guys to do 3 things for me. Number 1, stay safe. It's a crazy world out there. You might get stabbed by 6 claws. Number 2, I want you guys to be brave and kind. It's a massively crazy world out there, but if you can do those 2 things, you're going to be doing the best you can. And number 3, you got to evolve daily. Who you were yesterday is incredible. Who you are today, beautiful. But who you are tomorrow, that is absolutely who Deadpool is coming to find and make a part of the Marvel Universe. So until then, stay strong, stay true north, smart, or whatever.
And what?
And Lemon finally
Well,
won.
yeah, Canada. Oh, what a Canadian weekend we're going to have. Good for us. Good night.